Recently, I talked about infinite and finite, or heart and mind. This one, I want to talk the same idea, but using the case of the Shin Buddhism. It's called the pureland Buddhism. It's very oriented to compassion as opposed to intellect. In one of the videos I mentioned about artificial intelligence or artificial super intelligence, but I wanted it to contrast to artificial compassion, super compassion or super heart. It's corresponding to the mind and heart, or the brain and heart. Brain is to distinguish A to B, life and death, right and wrong, good and bad, beautiful, ugly. But compassion is go beyond that. One is more intellect, the other one is more emotional, if you're going to use that word. But those two are like a left brain and right brain. We have those, and the reason for having those, which is like contrasting infinite and finite. Finite in this case is the intellect, and infinite may be more beyond the intellect, perhaps connected to the emotional part. So there's an issue about AI, but on this one I want to just delve into an interesting contrast of Zen and Shin Buddhism. Both originated from the Buddha and spread out in a different sect, and they are like opposite, but I see the core is the same. And Daisetsu Suzuki has written many books, and he is familiar with the Zen, more so in the West, but he was also a professor at Otani University in Kyoto, which is based upon the pureland Buddhism or Shin Buddhism. So he's got this viewpoint. Let's see if I can communicate. The cause, the source of this is Daisetsu's book, which is more than 100, and this captures under the title called The Fundamental Principle of Shin Buddhism, kind of contrasting to Zen. Again, less intellect and more compassion. So this is a translation from the Japanese, and again I can share this in the description that you can take a look if you're interested. Here we go. In Shin Buddhism, there is a clear distinction between karma and the negation of karma, the defiled land and the pure land, and the sinful mortal bound to birth and death, and the Buddha of infinite life and infinite light, like finite and infinite. This dualism permeates the entirety of Shin doctrine and is indeed one of its defining characters. Therefore, Shin Buddhism insists that its followers must fully acknowledge that this world is a defiled realm, and that they themselves possesses nothing but actual or potential evil karma. Maybe a strong sentence, but that's what it says. For this reason, and this reason alone, believers are taught to entrust themselves wholly to Amida's compassionate salvation, be reborn in the Pure Land, purify themselves of sin and defilement, and ultimately attain perfect enlightenment. Herein lies the fundamental principle upon which all Pure Land teachings stand. Without this principle, Amida and the Pure Land would be of no use. Amida and the Pure Land belong to the realm of a pure consciousness, whereas all sentient beings who cannot help but possess evil karma belong to the world of sensory experience. Those two worlds, Amida and all sentient beings, stand in polar opposition. To enter the Pure Land, one must absolutely abandon the defiled land, and for there is no middle ground. It's like the polar opposite of the finite and infinite, or the mind and heart, as I often call. In ordinary logic, one cannot place one foot in the Pure Land and the other in this defiled world. Yet through prayer it becomes possible. In Pure Land terms, this prayer means deeply believing that one is a sinful mortal bound to birth and death. When this profound faith arises, absolute trust in Amida is established. Shin Buddhism emphasizes the sinful existence of relative beings precisely to direct them toward Amida and his Pure Land. Let me just jump ahead so that I skim through this. For example, when humans seek of birth and death, or speak of birth and death, it can be said that the Pure Land and the soul have already been conceived. Since the appearance of humans in the natural world, birth and death, causality, karmic retribution, and hell have come into existence, and we are right in the middle of it. In the Pure Land, there is not a trace of shadow. There are no hell beings, hungry ghosts, or animals. Those in Pure Land are practitioners of compassion and, metaphorically, even garlic. They transcend dualities. This defiled world and the Pure Land always stand in opposition, yet one cannot exist without the other. This contradictory opposition is possible precisely because of the contradiction itself. Hence, they can also be called self-identical. That's an interesting word, self-identical. You cannot exist without the other. The Pure Land reflects into this world, and this world reflects into the Pure Land. Because of mutual reflection, scriptures often use the metaphor of a mirror. Since we dwell both in this world, Saha, and the Pure Land, we constantly move between the two, like an infinite and finite, or the mind and heart. This trans-logical state is called faith, the mind of decisive resolution, or the stage of non-retrogression. The passage from there to here and here to there is impossible without horizontal transcendence. It is continuity of discontinuity. There is no Buddhist who only goes to the Pure Land arrival in the Pure Land is simultaneously departure from it. If one interprets this dualistically, nothing becomes more trivial than the Pure Land. The chanting of Nembutsu, or Namu Amida Butsu, is the act of breaking through the contradictions of human nature. Neither emptiness nor Namu Amida Butsu remains static without movement. Neither this world nor the other will unfold. Thus sentient beings and Buddha, Saha, this world, and the Pure Land emerge from within it. Pure Land is this very world. Even as we live like this, we are all in the Pure Land. But to say we are in the Pure Land does not mean we are only there. It means the Pure Land is this very Saha, or this world. From the perspective of being in the Pure Land, everyone is Buddha. They just lack self-awareness of it. So here I call it the fundamental principle of Shin Buddhism, contrasting and the paradoxical relationship of mind and body, or finite and infinite. One does not exist without the other. To realize that is the way. Like I mentioned, that we need to connect to the root at the center, as the Tao Te Ching pointed, and have that as a home, or I call it eternal home. We can still experience with our mind, but with a root inside of us. And to me, that two-dimensional structure of infinite and finite, or the infinite is like heart, and finite being the duality in our mind. That's who we are. And there's a way to connect or transcend to see all. That's the point for Pure Land sect of Shin Buddhism, but also correspond to Zen. Although Zen may have more intellectual element, therefore more intelligence, compared to the Shin Buddhism, which is give away the intellect and throw ourselves into Pure Land, Amida's hand, so to speak. It's a total devotion to that. And to me, Myokunin represent how it can be done. As I shared in the case of Saichi, he talks about his funeral, death of him, to be taken care by Amida Buddha, and going to Pure Land, he says, and he comes back to this world, back and forth. Posted thousands of poems, a layman who couldn't very write well. But that also indicates not too much depend on the intellect and say Namu Amida Butsu. Zen and Pure Land somehow seems like an interesting pair, and the fact that Daisetsu is sharing those two aspects, as if looking at the picture from different angle, but come to the same center or the core of our being and live accordingly, as if it's our eternal home. So that's the principle of Shin Buddhism, and also I compare to Zen, just for your information. And in this world, with all the internet and the words are passing around with so much information, we may lose that heart to be busy with chasing the information, but not going beyond or underneath to get to the root of who we are. That's a huge challenge for us, hopefully to evolve further, to go beyond the confinement of a mind and have more compassionate sense with the idea like, may all beings be happy. Thank you. May all beings be happy.